Idea number 3, an infographic is a tool for understanding, okay, that can reveal hidden truths. In certain cases, you want to create graphics, not just to communicate with other people, but in order to understand your ideas better. That is what you do when you are analyzing a piece of data, and you create a line graph in order to see how that variable has changed. You would not see that otherwise. You would not see how a variable changes unless that you create a particular graphic, unless you create a graphic that helps you see trends and patterns in the data. What I usually say is that an infographic, a graph, a map, a diagram, etc., is like a pair of glasses. So let's imagine that I take my glasses off. And what I see in front of me is data. Data that is meaningless, fuzzy. I don't see anybody. I don't see your faces anymore, all right? But when I take my glasses and I put them back on, suddenly that data, those numbers, let's suppose that each one of you is a number, those numbers that were in front of me suddenly make more sense. I can see you, I can get information. The noise that was in front of me has been transformed into signal. Well, my pair of glasses is an infographic. That is what an infographic is for. It's not just for communicating. It's for helping me and helping you understand information better. Infographics can empower citizens. This is very important. Think about creating tools that can citizens understand data, but not only that, but control politicians as well. We did that in the past, all right? And I'm going to give you just an example. In 2011, when I was still working in Brazil, that Brazil has a huge problem with political corruption. Brazil has a law of transparency. So representatives, the government, the Congress, the Senate, all those people there are forced to put their data online into databases. Let's see what happens if we focus just on telephone calls. How much money each one of those people are spending on telephone calls. You can see that there are some of them who were spending every month, 10,000 reais. 10,000 reais is around 4,000 euros a month in telephone calls. How do you spend 4,000 euros in telephone calls in a month? I don't know how to do that. It's a lot of money. When we created the graphic, we got a very good question from the editor who actually proposed the idea in the first place. He said, well, what is the headline for these? Because the headline should not be just, monthly expenses in telephone calls in the Congress of Brazil. That is extremely boring. So let's bring some sort of interest to the table. Let's make it more interesting. What he did to write the headline was to put all those data, all those numbers, into a spreadsheet, and he ended up having the total amount of money which all those people spent in 9 months of a year. They spent 14 million reais, which is around 6 or 7 million euros, 6 million euros in telephone calls. He actually wrote a joke for the headline. He basically got that number, and he divided that number by the average price, or the average price of a landline call in Brazil. And he came out with the amount of time, how long, if you're a private citizen, how long can you can speak on the phone if you want to spend 14 million reais. And it turns out that if you pick your phone up right now and start talking, if you want to speak on the phone and spend 14 million reais, you will end up talking for 298 years. And actually the headline of the graphic is 298 years of chatter, of telephone call. That is genius.